What's good, people of the internet? We back. And guess what we're talking about? We're talking about semen retention. We're talking about the NOFAP. And I'm going to talk about this for a couple of different reasons and also a couple of different perspectives. Okay, so I'm going to mention this for men and women because I realize that a lot of the people on the internet who are referring to this NoFap, people who are talking about it, they're only talking about it a lot of the time from the male's perspective as if it's not a feminine thing to have a sex drive too. So I think it's important for me to talk about it to women also. All right, so first of all, what is the NoFap? Is the semen retention. In case you don't know, basically it's just making sure that you are not ejaculating or sending out that sexual energy of yours. That's just putting it in simplest forms. It's pretty common for a man to masturbate and ejaculate intentionally and to send those sperm cells outwards. And well, it's the same concept for women. Basically, when you have an orgasm, it's a pushing out of sorts. But we're going to talk about what happens when you don't have this ejaculation. So first of all, we need to realize there's a difference between ejaculating and having an orgasm. Okay, so you can have an orgasm and not ejaculate, and a lot of people are not aware of this. So if you're masturbating or you're having sex, you can actually still do it and not get to the point. When I mean by it, I mean you can still have the orgasm without ejaculating. Okay, specifically for this, I'm talking about for men. Okay, so I'm gonna talk about women next. All right, so for men, a lot of men are not aware that you can have an orgasm without ejaculating, so they're thinking that it's just one thing. You can have multiple different forms of orgasm, okay? And once you come to realize this and you get the awareness of how to control it and how to have different forms of orgasm, your sexual intelligence goes to another level. And sex is really like the most magical thing you can do, and it's got the most potential. I mean, obviously, it can create an entire life. Like, you can create a human being from it, so you know it's something big. But a lot of people take their sexual energy and their sex drive pretty lightly, and they're thinking about it from their lower chakras and a lower level of maturity. And I think it's very, very important for people to realize just how important it is, who you're having sex with, how you're doing it, and what y'all's intentions are while you're doing it, okay? So that you can do this properly. That's why I have so many videos on sex magic and how to do it properly, and I'm probably going to make a lot more, but if you haven't seen those, check those out after this video, okay? So I'm going to talk about my personal experience with this. When I first realized that the potential of the sex drive was a real thing, it was just me by myself. I was still sexually active with a woman for a long period in my life. I've talked about this with females also. Like I said, I'm going to talk about the women later. So let me talk about my male perspective first. First of all, I realized whenever I don't masturbate or I don't have sex with women, it's like my creativity goes to another level. It's the craziest thing. It's so much easier for me to create. It's so much easier for me to get the stuff that I want. You know, when we're talking about the manifestation of stuff, I can get stuff to manifest like this, like it's nothing. And it's really amazing because whenever I do have what I call the courage to cut people off, which a lot of people seem to have the weakness of getting rid of something that no longer serves them or someone who no longer serves them accordingly. Whenever I do it, it's like an entire new world opens up to me and I get to know myself better. I'm paying myself more attention. I have more money in my pocket because I'm not going on a lot of dates and stuff and spending a lot of money. And it's easier to attract even more money. But it's much deeper than just money though. When I'm laying down, I talk a lot about lucid dreaming. I've got plenty of videos on that. When I have these dreams, right, as my sex drive increases and I'm not ejaculating, it's like these sperm cells are living beings inside of us, okay? So in case you didn't know, you got cells living inside of you, just like you're living inside the earth or on the earth, and the earth is an intelligence within you. So basically, you're like the sperm cells of earth or whatever you want to say, because, you can create with what the earth gives you. Same concept with what's going on inside of you. Your sperm cells can create with what's going on inside of you. So that's why people say stuff like you are what you eat. I got videos on that too. But to stay on subject, when you are not sending it out, when you're retaining it, okay, we got to understand that the definition of retain means to keep possession of. So when you're keeping possession of these sperm cells intelligence increases and it gets stronger over time. And of course, everything has a birth, a life, a climax, a fall, and a death. But whenever you're having more and more sperm cells accumulate in your body, they actually can have the intelligence. As they get older, they're going to get wiser, just like you will. So they get wiser and they get the intelligence on how to actually achieve their highest potential in life also. So it's kind of like your sperm cells can reach enlightenment just like you can. So the spiritual intelligence of your sperm goes up, which obviously you're going to benefit from that. So they start finding a way to send energy up your spine, right? The kundalini energy. We talk about the kundalini energy and how it works its way up your spine like a snake. And as it goes all the way up your spine, it's going to come all the way up your neck and it's going to access your pineal gland. And that's when all the magical stuff happens. That's when it becomes easy to travel to other dimensions. It becomes easy to create the reality that you want and attract everything that you desire. And of course, also, it makes it easier to control your dreams because it makes it easier to control every reality that you live in. Okay? So once you become a lot more aware, because like I said, the wiseness, the wisdom of the sperm cells is going to increase over time. They're going to make you wiser and you're going to be more aware. So it's going to expand your consciousness. This is what happened with me. And this is what happens with me. So every time I do it, it's like after a week, I'm already starting to get like eaten up by that lower vibrational energy. And it's like, oh my God, I want to do it. And it gets tempting, right? But whenever you conquer that, because that's the lower chakras. It's like the sperm cells charge those lower chakras up, right? And then it goes to the next level, and then it'll charge up the next ones. And of course, we got a whole lot of different levels. We got videos talking about all that stuff. So once we're working our way up, we can get to the point where it reaches our heart chakra. And that's when the higher intelligence gets to kick in. So now we're transcending in the third dimension. So now our intelligence is on a level where we have an awareness of who we are in these other realms also. So now it's not just a thing for me to only pay attention to the low vibrational chakras, what I call the lower chakras, which would be the desires of things that are worldly, like the material, sex, drugs, money, etc. You start realizing that there's more to life than that, right? And a lot of people have told me, like, even though they don't necessarily know a heck of a lot about the spiritual life and whatnot, they always have that feeling inside of them like, bro, I just feel like there's more to life and I just don't know how to access it. This is how you access that more to life that you've been trying to achieve, right? So it takes for you to put death to your lower desires, okay? So that's why it's so uncomfortable to do this kind of growth. And that's why a lot of people just can't do it. That's why a lot of people have no control over their sex drive. A lot of people get addicted to sex. A lot of people get addicted to masturbation, pornography, etc. And they're hooked on it because their lower chakras are functioning at full function, but those are the only ones that are. And their higher chakras are weak. And this is why it's so important for you to know how to meditate and acknowledge your traumas and your bad habits and be mature enough to eliminate your bad habits. Because if you're not doing this, then you're basically never going to be a wholesome person. So you're only halfway functional. So all you're doing is living life for the material world when you don't realize it's multiple other dimensions you live in that you could get information from there, pull it back in here, and your intelligence could literally be astronomically different than everybody around you. And then it's like being an eagle amongst chickens, okay? And this is how I was feeling when I was younger and I was still around the people who were functioning from low vibrational energies, right? But remember what I was saying about learning how to have the courage to cut people off. Once I started doing that and I started looking within even more, I started meditating even more, and I was retaining my sperm, all of a sudden now my creative energy goes nuts. So now I'm like a male and a female. So now I have the masculine and the feminine energy, which is, of course, the way to get what you want because creativity is a feminine energy. So you have to access the right brain. I got a video on that also, accessing the right brain. The right brain is what gives you the opportunity to see yourself from other perspectives, okay? That's the higher intelligence. That's how you start getting into it. And I wanted to talk about what it's like whenever you're going through this growth process, because it's not easy. It's really not easy. But I noticed that for me, whenever I do this semen retention, I realize that after quite some time, it gives my dreams a different effect. So, like I said about controlling my dreams, I've had the ability to control my dreams. I can realize I'm dreaming like that in an instant, and basically anytime I feel like it. So, I've got videos talking about that if you want to get a better awareness of that. But to keep going with this, in my dreams, it's like the people in my dreams are really trying to tempt me to have sex with them, right? So it's a lot of women that come into my dreams and they're trying to seduce me. I mean, the longer I go without doing it, without giving in, without ejaculating, it's like the women are trying harder and harder. So they present themselves in even more attractive fashions. They're presenting themselves in the greatest way possible to tempt me. So they're doing the things that I would like a woman to do. They're presenting themselves in the most beautiful attire. Their hair looks amazing. Their skin looks amazing. They smell good. I mean, everything. I didn't even know until recently that you could smell in the astral realm, but I did that pretty recently. So that was pretty cool. So to keep going with this, I want to talk about what the succubus is, right? Because I hear a lot of people talk about the succubus and how the succubus will come into your dreams and try to steal your sexual energy. And that's where it comes from, when these women are coming into our dreams and trying to get us to have sex with them and get us to ejaculate in our sleep, right? They call it wet dreams. But I got a different perspective on that now. When I was younger, I would think that the succubus was some other entity coming into my dreams, somehow being able to infiltrate my dreams, and she's there in order to try to steal my energy. But I don't think like that anymore. This is what I've come to as far as the conclusion with this. Your subconscious mind is a world that you create subconsciously, and it's going on 24/7. So even when you're not sleeping, that dream world always exists, and you're always living in it. Okay? So whether you acknowledge it or not, whether you remember your dreams or not, you're living an entire new other life in the subconscious realm. Okay? And the succubus that you might come across, or the succubi, these are examples of your subconscious mind showing you what's going on in your mind. So it's basically presenting to you your truest desires, because you cannot hide from what's in your subconscious. Your subconscious is going to present your biggest fears, your truest desires, etc. That's why people have nightmares, and the stuff that happens in their nightmares is stuff that they haven't acknowledged in some sense of what's going on in their waking life, and it's a concern of theirs. Okay? So the succubus isn't someone else that is coming into your dreams and stealing your energy. I don't believe in that. It is us. It's an intelligence of ours that's basically testing us. So for me, right, in my dreams, since I'm on the semen retention, I'm like, all right, I am not under any circumstance giving up that energy. So my subconscious is basically like, let's see how serious this guy is. So my subconscious brings these women into my dream, but because of the fact that it's still a desire of mine to have sex with women. It's innate. Okay? So it's nature. So it's basically a way of your higher self testing yourself, seeing how serious you are, and it's basically testing you in order for you to get total control over it. I feel like right about now, for the first time in my life, I actually have total control over this. And that's why I decided to make this video now, because people have been asking me to make this video for a while, but I felt like I wasn't ready yet. So now that I have control, I've traveled to these other dimensions, and I'm talking about astral projection, astral travel, and I'm talking about lucid dreaming and regular dreaming. But in all of these different aspects, in every realm that I've seen myself in recently, as of recently, I have been able to totally deny every single being who has tried. And when I tell you, in multiple dreams, in multiple scenes, I've got this ability pretty well down packed. So I'm having 9 or 10 dreams a night, and I remember this woman trying to do this, these women trying to do this, multiple different beings, ones that I'm familiar with and ones that I don't remember ever seeing before. And they're all trying to get this energy from me, and I'm denying all of them. So now that I'm able to do this, it's as if I've transcended again, and I've had a whole nother level of spiritual awareness. So I really had another level of enlightenment. And I think I made a video about enlightenment. I can't really remember, but I'm pretty sure I talked about it in one of my lives. I definitely did. But there's multiple levels to enlightenment. So some people talk about somebody and be like, you're enlightened, right? But being enlightened is cool, but you don't just stay at one level of enlightenment. You constantly move like this throughout life. Life is like a river, so it's constantly flowing. So you might be enlightened today, but then some event happened and you might forget who you are a little bit because, well, this world is pretty unpredictable sometimes and stuff's kind of tough. So you have to constantly be working at yourself and becoming a better version of yourself. And that's what this semen retention will force you to do. You're going to have no choice but to become more aware of what your mind is on, more aware of your sexual energy. You're going to naturally want to meditate more in order to deal with the temptation of wanting to have an orgasm. Okay? So especially when you have access to whatever it is that you want very easily via pornography or your hand, it's pretty easy for you to just give in. But when you don't, you're giving yourself what I would call an intelligence of somebody who's of the 1%. And whenever you're doing this, you're presenting yourself to the universe as if you are a god instead of just being a player in this game, as if you're on kind of like autopilot. Because when you let your underdeveloped desires run your life, when you, what I would call spiritually childish, when you're not fulfilling yourself from the inside out, you're doing things backwards. You're living backwards. So whenever you actually do value yourself and your sexual energy, your self-respect goes up, right? So when you respect yourself, the universe responds to that. You know, this is a whole karma thing. So when you are being careful who you're having sex with, when you do deny people access to what is the closest they can get to you physically and spiritually, your standards are going up not only for yourself, but for your environment. So the universe is going to have to respond to that. So if you really want something in life, be willing to sacrifice your lower desires like that. Like getting rid of somebody you know you've been wasting too much time on. Okay? When you start loving yourself properly, you're going to naturally do this. That's why I highly recommend that you begin to recognize when you're overly attached to something. You're not supposed to be attached to any of this stuff in this world, including people. A lot of the time, people have this idea of happiness, and whenever they talk about their future and what they want, the first thing I hear somebody say is some junk like, I want to be married and I want to have kids. Okay, neither one of those have to do with what's inside of you naturally and what you already have right now. So when you tell yourself you're going to be happy later, that's basically what you're doing. You're telling yourself, I'll be happy later. Because if you're not married or happily married, if you're not having children right now, if you don't have children right now, you're telling yourself subconsciously that you're not happy right now and you won't be, because right now is all that you know. The present is the only thing that exists. The present moment, the gift, is all that you're really aware of. Nothing else exists. So if you're not telling yourself you're happy right now, you're not happy now. And because we're living in the thoughts of the past right now, the thoughts of the past are going to tell you, okay, so since I told myself subconsciously I'm not happy unless I have a spouse and children, I'm not happy. And it's like going against yourself. So first of all, you need to go within, not without. Because when you're with what's out there, without, you're not paying attention to who you truly are, and you are really distracted with what your purpose is here. Because it's not everybody's purpose to get married and have kids. You got to think bigger than that. You got to think deeper than that. I'm not saying that it's wrong to have those desires. Heck, most of us want love. I'm pretty sure everybody does. Everybody wants that companionship of some sort. But that is not where you should get your fulfillment from. You need to be getting your fulfillment from within already. Okay? Then it's easier to attract the stuff that you're looking for. That's what I'm talking about. When you deny certain people access to you, when you're not being what I would call easy. I'm not easy. When I meet a new woman, I'll tell her, like, look, like, I'm sure eventually you're going to want to have sex, but I'm telling you right now, I'm not easy. And they think I'll be trying to be funny when I say that, even though they know I'm dead serious once I elaborate on the subject. But I let them know that. So now let's get into talking about women, right? So I come across quite a few women in my life. I don't know, it's like a gift of mine or something. I just get closer with women than men a lot of the time, as friends, companions, or what have you. All right. So I realized that there's this common misconception by women that men are like highly sexual, right? And that men have this really high desire to have sex. But let me just expound on this for a moment. It is not more natural for a man to want sex than a woman, because the feminine energy existed first. And if sex is all about creation, right? Women are the feminine energy representation. So sex and creation are synonymous, which is synonymous with feminine energy, which is synonymous with women. So I don't know why women, well, I know why. I think the reason why women talk about the sex drive of men as if it's more prominent is because men have the ambition to pursue what it is that they want. But let me tell you, bro, ain't nobody hornier than a woman when she knows what she wants, okay? When a woman has a guy and she knows who he is and or what she wants from him, she's going to be way hornier than him. Whether she actually pursues it or not, that has to do with the ego. But I'm pretty sure a lot of y'all have had a companion by now. But when a woman is comfortable and her traumas are put to the side, like, or should I say not put to the side, because you're not supposed to put them to the side. When they're eliminated, she's going to want sex all the time. All the time. And of course, a man will too. But I'm talking about the feminine aspect of it. Women love sex. It's in their nature to create. The feminine energy is the creation energy. Now that I've mentioned that part, I got to go into why it's important for a woman to recognize the benefits or the risks of what they might see as shutting down your sexual energy or your sexuality. So as a female, considering the fact that y'all are the feminine energy, you should never ever shut down completely your sexuality, your sexual energies. But this is where the misconceptions come in at, because there's some women who are like, quote unquote, more spiritually aware, right? Or I don't even necessarily want to say spiritually aware, but they've got some kind of occult knowledge. So some of them feel like it's their liberty, which it is, to be as free with their sexuality as they want to be. And absolutely, that's your right. But it is not the same thing as loosely utilizing your sexual energies, okay? So the whole point of being a god is knowing what you want to create and what you deserve, okay? So if you want to be a goddess, you're going to have to set your standards first, okay? So if you want to be as effective with creation as possible, you have to know what you're not willing to put up with. You have to know what you're willing to deal with. And some women, because of a number of reasons that we could talk about when it comes to the psychology of people, but just to scratch the surface with it, a lot of women don't have control of their sexual energy due to their prior experiences. And a lot of them really don't, because they never learned the true value of their sexual energy. Okay? A woman is like a walking, talking universe. So if you're a female and you don't even know your own value, and you're basically just giving anybody access to your body, you don't even realize how subconsciously that's affecting the world that you're living in, or the worlds that you're living in. And trust me, there's a lot more worlds that you exist in that you do not remember or know about right now. So considering that, you have to be very picky with who you're choosing to exchange and build these sexual energies with. Because if you're building with somebody who's not so aware of themselves and you're not aware of yourself, y'all are spinning in a backward spiral and you're going in the wrong direction. All right. So remember what I was saying about never shutting down your sexual energy? That doesn't mean you need to always have sex. That doesn't mean you always need to masturbate. That means you need to learn how to properly purpose your sexual energy, which means purposing the energy into a direction in which you want to create. So you can utilize your sexual energy in more ways than just having sex. And that's what you got to be able to acknowledge and recognize how to do it properly. You can have all of that sexual energy built up and you really want to do it, and then you hold it up, you build it up, and you get it to come all the way up your spine and up to your pineal gland, and you could fly out of your body and go get some information from the astral realm. And I do this all the time. That's why I'm talking about it. You can go to the astral realm, get some information from there, find a creation there, bring that idea back into this reality, and create something new that nobody's ever experienced before. I do this all the time, and I've done this in many ways, but I'm an audio engineer and a music producer and a songwriter, and I do music. So for me personally, I have the ability to literally go to other dimensions and get melodies, song concepts, compositions, etc., and get them back into this reality and make songs that I know for a fact nobody else here has made, or things that they haven't said or what have you, because of the simple fact that I literally got that knowledge from another world. And this is what people don't talk about when it comes to the semen retention and stuff and the NOFAP. Men and women both have sexual energy, obviously. But we both need to know it's not about shutting down your sexual energy and not acknowledging what it is that you need as far as your sexual desires. You need to know how to properly allocate the energies of your sexuality. You should acknowledge how you feel. Always, always, always. Never deny how you feel. That's why it's so important to journal and write down your dreams and things like that. That's why I talk about that. Because the better you know yourself, the easier it is to create what you desire. So I just wanted to make that video. If you got any questions or comments, definitely leave them in the comment section, because this is a cool subject to talk about. And if you have experience with this creation thing when you are on the semen retention or the NOFAP or whatever you want to call it, tell me about it. Let me know how it went for you or how it's going for you. And until next time, thanks for watching. Have a great one.